and welcome to the Radically Embody Love Podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, and my beautiful co-host, Nasrin Barbic. We're excited to talk with you today about magic. And magic is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I've experienced it a lot in my life, but I never quite understood it. I still don't really understand it. Magic is one of those things that we experience, but it will always remain a bit mysterious, because magic is when we work in the unseen realms and the realm of energy, the realm of vibration, the realm of frequency. For me, it's the realm of the heart, right? Our heart is the place where we unify with all things. And magic is connected to our ability to intentionally connect to the unified field of all things, the web of life, our interconnection, the divine in everything, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll dig in deep. And before we go a little deeper, I want to just say, magic has kind of a bad rap because it's associated with black magic a lot, or witches. And there's this fear like, oh, magic is bad or magic is scary. And I myself really had that fear for a long time. And I would even hear the word witch and be like, oh, like I'm a good witch. Like, I don't want to, it even took a long time for me to even really use the word. And because there was a time when people were using magic outside of the context of love. And we all have the power with our consciousness to create in alignment with love or out of alignment with love. And whether that be, right, the way you move in the world, the thoughts you have, the emotions you emit. And so there is a great responsibility as we enter the conversation and when working with magic or working with manifestation or working with frequency, that we be really mindful of where that desire is coming from, what our intention is, and what it's aligned to. Because I hear a lot out there about manifestation. At this point, quite frankly, the word kind of makes me feel a little nauseated because it's just so, I feel frustrated with the very, quote, basic understanding that neglects the soul and our divine power and makes manifestation almost this blaming thing, like you're doing something wrong if anything goes wrong. You're doing something wrong if things aren't perfect in your life. And that is not the way it is. That's a very limited 3D human perspective that doesn't take into account the divine that we are and the soul realm, which is so much vaster and bigger than our minds can ever comprehend. And so magic can be related to manifestation, and yet to me, they're also two very different things. And I feel like magic is when we start to tap into the heart and to the soul, like what the soul really desires, and we're able to connect to that frequency, higher frequencies of love and union within ourselves, then that frequency begins to expand, and automatically through beingness, through the energy of our being, begins to expand into the web of life, which we can talk more about, into the web of life. And then it automatically reaches and draws to us what is in alignment with our soul's path, automatically draws to us the synchronicities, the animal spirits, the messages, the sounds, the experiences that are in our highest and best interest to receive, that maybe our ego doesn't understand, maybe our mind can't grasp, but we're receiving that knowingness. For me, it's always like a knowingness that I'm not alone, and that there's something greater than me supporting me and showing me the way. So let's make this a little more tangible. And then I want to hear a little bit more from you, Nas, about your own stories and perception of magic. Oh gosh, I experienced so much magic in my life. It's hard to even imagine. But so I had this experience one day. I was in my house. I felt really called to go into this meditative state. It was in the middle of the afternoon, but I was like, okay, I feel it really strongly. So I lay down on my yoga mat and I started going into meditation. And I had what felt like a spiritual vision of Osiris and Horus, which are Egyptian deities or Egyptian energies and I'm very connected to a lot of the ancient Egyptian lineage. And in that vision, without going into all of what it was, one of the messages I got is, you will receive confirmation that this is real. Because so much of my visions, right? Sometimes it's so hard. Like, is this real? Am I making this up? Right? We all have that. Like, I hear that very often. We all have this kind of fear sometimes. And this is several years ago. And so I was still in that place of like playing with this other realm more consciously. And so Horus, an ancient Egyptian, was represented by a hawk and had the head of a hawk. And so about 2 minutes, I finish the meditation, I stand up, I start to turn toward kitchen, and I see something move outside my window, this same window. And I walk toward the window and I look out, and there was a hawk that landed in the tree just to the right outside of this window and was just staring at me and sat on that limb and just stared at me for several minutes. And I'm like, there's no way. I've never seen a hawk in that tree before. I've never had a hawk come up to my door. There's no way that that's anything but magic, right? That's the colliding of the two worlds, of the energetic, right? The spiritual world, right? The energetic web that connects us all, and our physical world. Magic is the in-between the realms where we meet. And we get to move beyond this pure physicality into, oh, yeah, well, what creates physicality? The divine, God, source. Oh, so I get to experience both. And it gets to cross through that realm we've created with our mind, with our consciousness. Like we see it as separate, spirit realm, physical realm, but it's not. It's our consciousness that can attune to the magical realm. And that was an experience where I got to actually see the physicality of that divine realm show up because my consciousness allowed it. And I think that is magic.
I love that story. And I love it that you actually had the confirmation of your meditation, the sign that came right after. That's beautiful. And, when I think about magic, I think life is magical. Anything that we cannot really understand, we call it magic. But we are in realm of magic in that sense when I think about it, because life is a mystery. We are part of the mystery, and we have a hard time sometimes because we are part of that mystery to figure things out. And things that doesn't make sense to us, we call it magic. And I believe the more we develop our multisensory and the sixth sense in a way, maybe at someday we will stop calling it magic anymore. But everything we just pick up with five senses makes sense to us. Anything outside of that, which we have no sense of, we do have it, but we haven't developed it fully. So we can't, with our just five senses, make sense of it. We call it unknown, magical, and trusting that, which is similar to intuition, that trust in that, and we can develop that to more and more get in touch with it. And I think for me, the lesson that I recently learned that I share with you is like to trust that against all odds, that magical thing, that message that is coming through is for you and is there for a reason. So as I was sharing with you, and I want to share with the audience, that to me was a magical message coming through that I didn't get really the importance of it. And I ignored it, and therefore the result that I got was not the best. But I was visiting my doctor for pre-op for a very minor surgery. But I had that day in the office, as soon as the doctor said there's a very slight chance of something going wrong, first I had this bad feeling, but a strange noise came from inside the room. Then doctor stopped and said, "This is strange. I never had heard this noise from here. Maybe it's a fire alarm from outside and it's coming through this way. Let me go check." So she goes out of the room, come back, very puzzled. It's like, there's no noise outside. It's only in this room. I've been in this room for many years, never heard this noise. And she keeps looking around. There's nothing to make that noise, but there's this, like, I can't even produce that noise myself. And she said, "Okay, let's go to another room. We'll figure this out." And we went to another room, and I'm thinking all this time, I had the bad feeling. The noise came right as soon as she said that maybe I shouldn't be doing this operation, or maybe I shouldn't do it with her. I don't know, but maybe this shouldn't be happening. Then I come home calling my friend, and she's like, "Okay, don't read too much into it." And I still don't have a good feeling. I even sent her the doctor email, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. She convinced me we should. And against my own best judgment, and because I still feel like the doctor knows more than me, I ignore my own intuition and all that messages that was the noise that warning me as well, maybe, right? That I could call a magic that happened during that time. I didn't listen to it. That ended up with a bad infection. A surgery didn't go well, and I still dealing with that infection. So, I mean, the lesson learned for me is like, after all this time that I have received so many signs, I needed to trust that, and I didn't. So the affirmation of my own instinct and intuition is more valuable than anybody else's opinion, even in a doctor. So magic, I think, when I think about it, now as we're speaking about it, is all around us. It's all around us, and we sometimes ignore it, choose not to see it. But for me, and based on my own experience, I'm going to be more and more paying attention to it. And, as you were saying about meditation, it is a time, the only power in the meditation that we are intentionally sitting and willing to receive. Not that those messages are not constantly coming at us, but we're so busy in the busyness of the day and things that we're doing, we're so occupied that we don't pick up on those signals. But when we sit and meditate and allow ourselves, that's when we actually are, in a way, an antenna is tuned to receive more that is already there, but we can now grasp it more. And that's what I call magic.
Yeah, in order to receive magic, we definitely have to be present, right? Have the consciousness of the now moment, the consciousness of what's around us, and be paying attention. And yes, we're usually doing that more if we're having meditation practice, but I also really feel strongly that that's something we can cultivate in every single moment through body consciousness, because in order to be conscious, we have to be present. In order to be present, we have to be in our body, right? And so most people were conditioned to just, I'm doing work and then I'm in my body, or I'm cooking the food and then I'm present and meditating. But what if you merge them, right? Because what is magic? Merging. It's the merging of the spiritual realm with the physical realm. When we merge that through our consciousness, through our presence, through being in the body, we experience magic all of the time. And we open up to that realm in every moment. And I know that because I experience so much magic in my life. And it can be anything from a bird knocking on my window and delivering a message to I'm out in the middle of the forest and there's an animal that comes up and speaks to me, or it could be, when I left my ex-husband and then somehow the only person who has the key to the apartment of a woman I knew who just left town happens to be there with my friend who I called. So I had a place to stay. I wouldn't otherwise have had a place to stay in. Like, it's magic. And it works because we all hold the divine. The animals hold the divine in them. Each human holds the divine in them. All of life, the elements hold the divine. And we can all be used as those instruments of the divine when we trust ourselves. And that brings together what needs to be brought together for that magic to appear in physicality, right? And so, as you said, like, well, you were part of that magic. You received that magic of that sound in the room at that moment. She said there could be this problem, and you knew and you felt it. But then, because, right, the mind couldn't understand it and everybody else is saying this, and well, don't make too much of it, right? You're like, oh, well, okay, I'll put that aside, even though you still that bad feeling, not with any judgment, like, it is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lesson of, we can either open to and receive that message, that magic, or we can try to make sense of it and deny it because it doesn't make logical sense. It's not rational. It's not what everybody else thinks. And for me, the bigger message of that is, what are we going to believe more? What we see with our physical eyes, what we hear with our physical ears, purely human, or what we feel in our heart, what we feel in our body, what our consciousness is telling us, what we know, even though we can't see it, we can't point to it, we can't explain it. Because I feel like when we are in that realm of deep trust of self, that's when the magic is not only appearing, but then gets amplified because we're trusting it, we're acting on it. And that's when the miracles are created.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not relying purely on the physical world. And it is a consciousness shift. More and more now, so I'm really realizing that so much of my work is this, it's bringing a certain level of consciousness into the body. Because we can just go into the body without consciousness, right? We could just be in the body. We could move the body. We could dominate the body. We could be embodied. But it's our consciousness of the divine we bring into the body and open up to that really creates that magic, that shift.
Yeah. As you said, is we need to be fully present. And the way I like to explain it, which is similar to you, what you were saying, is that our body is a gateway because our breath lives in the present moment. And the only way that we can be really receiving is at the alignment of our body and mind at the same time in the now moment. Meaning that my mind is not in the past or future and is aligned. And one way to do it, again, to bring attention to your body, because when you notice your breath is happening now. And then you bring in that attention to now, or anything that you're doing, but your mind is exactly focusing on one thing that you're doing in the present moment. So just checking it in is a good practice when you're cooking, when you're walking, anything you're doing. Where is your mind? Is it in the past, future? Bring it back to now. And the way we do it is through our body. Focus, noticing how your feet feels on the ground, how your breath feels, how your chest moves with your breath. That helps you to get to the now moment. And the more we stay in that, then and only then I think we can pick up all this, messages that is around us all the time, but we can receive it because most of us live in a virtual reality, meaning we have this movie going on in our mind, which is mostly replaying the past or going ahead of ourselves in the future, trying to figure out things. And there, we're not in a real moment and therefore cannot also receive all this magic that is around us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And as we start to attune our consciousness, right, to that other reality, which is, I would say, the most real reality we have, right? The reality of soul, the reality of the divine, the reality of our own essence, our own beingness, and attune to that, because we do have to attune to it, right? We have to connect consciously and attune our awareness into the present, into the body, into the now moment, because it's so easy for the mind to get distracted or to think, to have these thoughts. And even in meditation, I often hear people say, oh, well, I can't stop the stream of thoughts. Well, you're not necessarily going to stop the stream of thoughts. That's not even necessarily the point or the goal. So it's about attuning to that frequency. And so it's about attuning to the body, attuning to the self. And in meditation, we're often taught, oh, it's about getting rid of the thought, or we are upset that thoughts keep coming in the mind. And the reality is that it's not about getting rid of the thought. It's about observing the thought. It's about teaching ourselves that we are beyond the thought. We are beyond the feeling. We are beyond the body. And it's that beyond state. It's the observer state, the consciousness state. That's the state that creates the magic. That's the state that receives that magic, that receives that wisdom. And so it's really about a consciousness shift that is open to the other world that we can't see. And that other world that we can't see, I think, is beautifully symbolized by the flower of life, which is a sacred geometry symbol. It's literally in ancient civilizations engraved on their stones, including Sumer and Egypt and beyond, because the flower of life, which I don't have to show you right in front of me, but you can Google it, the flower of life will come up. It starts with two circles intersecting to create the Vesica Pisces, and then another circle and another circle and another circle and another circle, and they keep intersecting. And it shows this, it's the DNA strand, right? It shows the way in which every single thing on this planet contains the same basis of DNA. Every single thing on this planet contains the divine. And so it's about allowing the web of life to hold us. It's about allowing that web of life, which is beyond our mental comprehension, which is that observer, which is that divine, that divinity in all, allowing it to inform us and to hold us and to bring to us what we need. But in order to lean into that, we have to release all the ways that we resist that. So that's why it's about attuning. We have to attune to that self with a capital S, this divine self, the soul self. We have to attune to that frequency and attune to that energy of love instead of the fears, right? Instead of the doubts, instead of the shame and all of those other things that keep us from even opening our eyes to those possibilities. And then we can actually experience it.
Well said. And I know you have a offering that you're thinking about coming up. I don't know exact. You want to tell us more about that? It has something to do with magic, right?
Yeah. Well, magic is definitely part of Ecstatic Soul Embodiment, which is a group online program that starts in April. But it's also the focus of an in-person retreat that I have this year, which I'm really excited about. It's my first in-person retreat in several years. And so it's in Hot Springs, which is near Asheville, North Carolina, September 13th through 15th, called Unleash Your Inner Magic. And it's all about doing the embodiment work, the frequency work, and ritual and ceremony. There's dance included. There's really fun activations. We're doing a waterfall ritual and a land ritual and a fire ritual and being in community. It's already half full. So if you're interested, definitely sign up as soon as possible. It's $644 for the entire weekend. That includes everything, including your lodging and your food. The only thing it doesn't include is transportation to and from. So it's at thepathtosovereignty.com. If you go there, there's a link. We'll also put it in the show notes. Unleash Your Inner Magic in-person retreat. Really excited about it because this is really magical land. And I've already connected with the land spirits there, and they're the ones who wanted it to be on magic. And so I feel really excited about us connecting to that other realm really intentionally and through that love state. And in order to do that, right, we have to connect with ourselves intentionally and connect to that love state within. And so it's about going deep into that God state, basically.
Sounds very magical and sounds perfect for, a week of connecting and aligning and being part of the magic that we are.
Yeah,
So
thank
that's
you.
great.
I'm really excited
Yeah.
about it.
Well, do you have anything more you want to add about our conversation today, or you feel good?
Yeah, maybe something a little practical. I don't think that we can truly experience a realm of magic without that observer state or without that frequency of love. And so for those of you listening and you want to open to the realm of magic, if you don't already have a meditation practice, I would highly recommend starting one. It can be where you're observing your third eye. It could be breathing into your heart. It could be breathing into your womb. Whatever that is that helps you start to connect with the self that's beyond your body, that's beyond your thought, that's beyond your feeling, and really expand your capacity to love, because those are the two keys to really opening up to more and more magic in your life that isn't about doing, it's about being.
Yeah. And expanding love includes self-compassion and self-love. Start with that before we can extend it. Thank you, Jessica.
Yes.
As usual, this was a wonderful conversation. I always enjoy our conversation, and it feels like a conversation. I always learn something. So
Me too.
thank you for our listener for listening. We would appreciate it if you follow us on Instagram or follow us in YouTube channel, all in the Radically Embody Love. And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Bye.